Well, hello and welcome, everybody. I am so thankful that all of you are with us today. And we just kind of getting back into the groove here at CLC. Pastor Ben is out, so he did make it to Phoenix, where they have this. It's a nationwide gathering of other ELCA churches, and so they're all coming together. And this is, he's there with Synod Council, which we have our own Synod Council right here. But then there's a nationwide Synod Council. Pastor Ben is a part of that, and so he arrived there on Sunday. So I believe he was driving during most of our worship services. Then got there in time for some early work, and then the convention actually starts up this week, but because he's on council, he's there a little bit early and a little bit late. So that's his schedule. I am back here for a while now, as far as what we have planned anyway. So after everything we've kind of been bouncing around with through June and mission trips, everything else, I think I'm back here now. So that's good until we get to maybe the end of August. Then I have a trip with the church's youth group. But until then, okay, I'm back. Pastor Ben is still going to be bouncing around a little bit. I think he gave you the whole list of his schedule, but he's still got to go back and get his father, bring him back, and then hopefully he'll be around for a little while too, and starting to get settled. But in the meantime, we just keep rolling. Things have been going good. I think we're, what is it? Almost 6 days without a power outage here at church. So we're gonna start the timer on that. See how many days we can get in without a power outage. But looking good so far. So far this week, I think we've been rolling pretty good as far as what everybody's told me anyway. And I have not heard otherwise. So we'll find out. But so far so good, and had a wonderful weekend in worship as well. So this past weekend, talked a little bit about the Tracy Chapman song "Fast Car" with our KCLC sermon series, but also diving into the idea of hope and what hope looks like. And so that's still where we're at in these 3 o'clocks. We still want to, I think, today and on Thursday, revisiting that idea of hope and really finding that in a true sense, because I think there are a lot of ways where we can look for hope, and it's just it doesn't last very long. It's short-lived, and we put our hope in all kinds of false things and all kinds of things that do fall apart. But as people who follow Christ, we're called to believe that no matter what happens, even if we have our doubts at times, that there is something worthwhile, that there is a true and certain hope out there. And we do want to do a little bit more to explore what that hope is going to look like and diving into that. So with that, I think that's the lay of the land right now here at CLC. It's been a Tuesday, so we've had a number of meetings, but compared to what we've been through some of the past few months and how busy it has been, it's been a rather quiet Tuesday so far, and that's okay. It's okay to have some quiet days every now and again. But yeah, I think we're going to revisit a song. This is a song that we heard if you came to the 11 o'clock worship. I believe that's one we have for today. Is the Desert Song. Is that the one? Sounds like it. But this song was sung by Jessica Ramsco, who's been wonderful at our 11 o'clock worship service. She's been a part of our congregation for many, many years, and it's always a delight to hear her sing and to have her worshiping with us. So we're going to go into that song, Desert Song, about hope. So we can turn to that now.
seed I've received, I will sow.
Beautiful. I love having Jessica with us in worship, and Robbie and the praise team. They're always wonderful as well. So yeah, but a wonderful song, and the desert song, a song about hope. And so starts off our prayer in the desert when all that within me feels dry, and finding hope in those moments. Prayer in the fire, in the weakness or trial or pain, the next verse. And then we have a prayer in the battle when triumph is on its way. And then a prayer in thanksgiving is the final verse. When the line says, I'm filled to be emptied again, and then we'll go out and take those seeds that we've been given and sow those into the world. And so kind of a nice through line, I think, in that song, and what it means to find hope in each one of those places. And today, considering where we might be at, if we're at that place, to begin with, if all that within me feels dry, if we feel just exhausted, can't give anything else, what does that look like? And I think there are so many different stories in the Bible where we can talk about any of the stories from Moses and the Israelites coming out of Egypt, and how at the end of the rope they are. You can talk about King David, who starts off as this shepherd boy and goes into this place where he is almost found by the royalty, becomes wrapped up in that world, but is soon hated by that world. The King Saul, who is the first king in Israel, winds up chasing after David, trying to kill him, leads him and chases him out into the desert. So he is at this place where he could be considered a very important person, has so many gifts to offer, but at the same time just chased, running away, and even throughout the rest of David's life, he does become king, but spiritually he finds himself pushed away and winds up in these desert places because of the choices that he makes. But what does it mean, even when we're exhausted, to find a bit of hope? So Isaiah 35, the desert and the parched land will be glad. The wilderness will rejoice and blossom. The desert will burst into bloom, and it will rejoice greatly and shout for joy. They will see the glory of the Lord, the splendor of our God. Strengthen feeble hands, steady the knees that give way. And to me, that's just a song for any of us. If we're ever at this point where, I believe everybody gets to that point, we're not always honest about it, but there are moments in every human life, I should say, where we're exhausted, or we don't feel like we can go anymore. But just like this metaphor of the desert that shows up in Isaiah 35, also in the Psalms, that the desert comes to life. There are these moments where it will bloom again, life will be restored, having that kind of hope in our world. And then there's also the line in this song where it says, I'm of more worth than gold, so refine me, Lord, through the flame. And sometimes the refining language, I don't know. Me personally, I can cringe at it a little. I don't want to think of God as testing anybody. If you're going through something, you don't want to see it as God is testing you. It's not the way to look at the Bible. But it's one of the. It's not saying this is what God does, but it's saying the Bible does lift it up almost as a bit of a metaphor, but as a way of seeing whatever trials we're going through, God is walking with us, not punishing us, not throwing lightning bolts, but But God is walking with us, and just as the gold or silver being refined, because God is with us, whatever we're going through in those trials, God still cares. God is still with us. God says, I will refine them like silver and gold. They will call on my name, and I will answer them. I will say, you are my people, and they will say, the Lord is our God. And so, simply, even when we're tested beyond those moments, even when we're in those painful moments, the fact that God is still with us, the God that still cares for us. And one of the lines toward the end of the song, where it talks about when I will also praise God, I will also have hope in my moments of thanksgiving. And so when I'm thankful, when I'm living in thanksgiving, when I have that hope, then I'll go out again. And there are Psalms that talk about this in the Bible, actually, and it's even still, you can find this in even some hunter-gatherer cultures and the beginnings of cultures where they're beginning to just rudimentary farming, like many people were at in biblical times. And those cultures today, and in the Bible it talks about this in several Psalms, that when at the end of a season you have your crops, and if it's going through a season of near starvation, you don't eat up all your crops. Instead, you save some of that. You save some of the seed. You save it's actually enough. You save enough of that seed for it to be tempting. You want to eat the rest of that food. You want to have more of it, but instead you go out back into the crops and you sow that seed back into the ground. And so in the psalm it says you sow with tears because people are starving and it feels like you're starving to death, but you go out and you still plant that seed in hope for the next season. And when the next season comes and you have crops that come up and are flourishing and you have enough food to eat, you can rejoice in that. You live in thanksgiving with that. And it's not something we think of too often when we have food. You know, we just go out and we buy more if something goes wrong, and we don't worry about it. We just, there's always something more. I mean, we can still have a scarcity mentality, and we can still live trying to hoard things, but we rarely live with that experience where we're trying to, even in our desperate times, we hold on to something, trusting that when we sow that back into the ground, we'll be able to reap later on with thanksgiving. But I think it's important for all of us to have that mindset instead of a scarcity mindset, instead of a what can I hold on to for myself? All right, what can I sow back into the ground? And not talking about the metaphor here, not talking about sowing seeds back into the ground, but instead of hoarding love, instead of hoarding all the gifts we've been given or whatever it might be. I have certain gifts. Each of you have certain gifts that you can share too. And instead of hoarding that, leaving that all for ourselves, what it instead looks like to sow that back into the world. And maybe some of you have done that. Maybe some of you have sowed the love, the care, the grace back into the world, and it feels like the world has responded by stepping on you or hurting you or any number of things. And that can be painful. It can be painful to save something and to sow it back into the world, to offer it to the world, and then the world comes back to crush you. But instead, we don't know how that love goes, but we as people, we believe in hope. We believe that God is doing something with the love that we pour out there into the world, even if we don't get to see it. And I firmly believe that about each and every one of you, that whatever good you offer to the world, even if it seems like nobody noticed or nobody cared, God's still working in that love. And the love, those seeds that you're sowing back out into the world, there's something that is worth giving thanks for. And I love that. I love seeing that in the way people offer that kind of hope to the world. And so I want to read one more Bible verse today from Romans chapter 8. We are led by the Spirit, and we become children of God. The Spirit you receive does not enslave you so that you are to live in fear again, which sometimes people think that's what serving God is all about. It's just, oh, you're a churchgoer or you're a Christian. It just means you must be one of those rule followers, and that's, oh, I could never. It's saying the Spirit is not a spirit of enslavement or about fear. Rather, the Spirit you received is about your adoption into Christ. And we can cry, Abba, or Father, and the Spirit will testify that we are God's children. And if we are children, then we are heirs and co-heirs with Christ, which is another line to that song, I am a conqueror and co-heir with Christ, so firm on his promise I'll stand. And we can trust in that promise. We can live into that wherever we go. And we'll be filled, we'll be emptied again, but to always look toward that hope, to look for that grace in our lives. That is a calling, and I believe it's something that it's worth continuing to live into in the ups and downs of life. So with that, I think we're going to call it a Tuesday episode here, but we are so thankful that you could take some time to join with us. We'll be right back here on Thursday, and we're gonna hope for a couple more days without a power outage or anything like that. So keep that hope alive, everybody, and we will see you next time.